Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my dream world. It's now winter break for me. Yay, I can actually sit down and make some videos. And before I get started, I would like to know I did kind of revive my old channel. It's now going to be a casual channel for just opinion videos and edits that I put together real quick. I don't want it to cloud my main content, but it'll be kind of like a spam account for less analytic content from now on. So if y'all are into that, go ahead and check it out. That being said, I'm starting a new series today based on what you guys voted for in the poll that I did a while ago, so sorry for the delay. Y'all said you wanted more analysis videos or the Disney series next, so that's what we will be doing. I've been wanting to just sit down and watch a bunch of Disney movies. There are a lot that I haven't seen in a long time and some that I straight up have not seen, so I thought, what a better way to start than with the OG Disney princess movie and the OG Disney movie, period, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Yes, for starters, I will be rewatching or first time watching all of the official Disney princess movies in order of when they came out. So we're starting with Snow White and then we'll do Cinderella and go on from there. It'll be kind of like my nostalgia series, but since some of them will be first time watch reviews, they'll function just a tad bit differently. I'm gonna cover how I felt about the movie before rewatching it, review my overall opinion of the movie itself, and then see if my opinion has changed since I was a child, since my first watch, or if I have a different outlook on it than I did beforehand. Again, this is not a reaction video, more so a rewatch review-analysis video, but I may insert clips or reactions just to make the video more cohesive and analytic. I think I've yapped a lot at this point, so let's go ahead and get on with the video. Honestly, I never had a super strong opinion about this film growing up. It was my grandpa's favorite Disney movie. It actually came out when he was 3 years old, I think. So I do remember watching it with him as a little kid, but I don't think I ever really connected with it that much. I just didn't think about it that much. Probably because growing up I was very much a tomboy and was not super into the whole someday my prince will come shtick. I mean, from ages 7 to 14, that was just not my vibe at all. The ingenue, damsel in distress type character was something that I just didn't gravitate towards. So I never disliked the movie and I never disliked Snow White as a character, but I just didn't care for it, even though I do remember, just enjoying it as a kid overall. It was kind of just one that was there for me. So I was interested in seeing how I felt while seeing it with almost completely fresh eyes over 10, 15 years later. So I ended up watching the movie with my mom because she hadn't seen it in a while either, and both of us realized we did not remember jack about the majority of the movie. The plot itself, I'll just start with that. It's pretty simple. And even though we didn't really remember too many details of it, it's still pretty straightforward. There's not much to it. And I did realize that the majority of this movie takes place over, I think, about 2 or 3 days, because we have the first day when she's in the castle, kind of just one song and the prince. Then we have her getting lost in the forest, finding the cottage, the dwarves finding her, and then the queen deciding to come after her. The next day is the next morning, at least it appears to be the next morning. The dwarves go off, then we get the whole showdown. And then, of course, a month later, or months later actually, that's when the whole prince coming in the spring and things like that happen. But most of it does occur over the course of 3 days. It's not necessarily confirmed to be chronological, but that's how we kind of perceive it to be. There's also the romance plot. And honestly, I know that some people just like a simple dreaming for your prince, coming for you, dreaming for that person, and I respect it, but at the same time, it just doesn't do it for me. This is a common criticism of the film, and I agree with it to an extent. The dude just kind of shows up. It's a little unclear whether they know each other prior. I mean, I guess you could argue that it's implied that she knew at least of him because she talks about him as if they've like met before and stuff. But from what we see in the movie, the guy kind of just like is circling the castle, which implies that he like kind of knows where he is. He hears her singing and he walks up to her and is like, "Hey girl," and she's like, and then runs away. So yeah, and then even though she's obviously like happy that he's there, there's not really that much buildup. Like, we don't really know, did they meet prior? Does she know something about him that and she's attracted to him? Like, is there anything that happened before this, or is it just some guy that showed up at her house and is dreamy? So she's like, oh my god, yay. Like, we just don't know. There's not much to it. And then we don't see the man again until the end when he finds her in practically his own backyard a few months later. So, like, it's just kind of confusing. We do see it from her side a little bit, seeing how she, is dreaming about finding her special somebody. Someday my prince will come, he'll come for me in the spring. So clearly, like, she knows that this is her person for some reason. But I'm not one of those people that's anti-romance. I'm not one of those people that's like, ew, like, that's so, like, back in the day type-ish. Like, it's not really like that. It's just that it is not a developed plot, which makes sense. This is the first time they tried this, so I'm not going to be too hard on it. But realistically, we have seen better and more nuanced romance plots in Disney princess movies. So this one just kind of isn't my favorite to watch. However, now I want to get into the more technical parts of the movie. Like, let's just remember, this movie was made in 1937. That's almost 90 years ago. So that considered, I think that the movie itself holds up fantastically. One thing that I kept pointing out as we were watching it, the music is of course gorgeous, but I also want to talk a little bit about the sound design in general, like not just the music. Like, even throughout the songs, we hear each little instrument playing throughout, and you see it in the animation as everything clicks together when Grumpy's playing the piano and all the instruments that they're playing. We also hear, like, when the evil queen is walking, we hear the rustling of the leaves and the bushes, and we hear the dwarves' squeaky shoes when they're getting scared about there possibly being a demon in the house. Like, the sound design there, they clearly put a lot of attention into it, and I thought that was very, very neat. Of course, I mentioned we have a lot of iconic songs too. Personally, my favorite is Whistle While You Work, and it's honestly very relatable. Like, I honestly cannot get small tasks like that done unless I'm listening to music, because that keeps my energy upbeat. And so I love that song. And even the prince's voice, even though I'm not really a huge fan of the guy, his voice is very beautiful. Like, the music is great, the sound design, fantastic. I think they put a lot of attention to detail in that regard. And the fact that this was made almost 90 years ago, I think it holds up fantastically. The same goes for the visuals. Specifically, I really enjoyed the animals and their animation, because there are a lot of different animals here. We have bunnies, chipmunks, and birds. Like, we have them all over the place, and each of them have a little bit of a unique personality and reaction times, and they just look so fluffy and friendly. I love it. So the animation holds up super, super well. The backdrops are magical and gorgeous. Like, I know we have Sleeping Beauty, which we'll probably be seeing soon, that has the fairy tale-esque, but this one also has a slightly darker fairy tale-esque to it, and I think it works really, really well, because we're in a forest that, it's not quite as enchanted as a movie like Sleeping Beauty, but there's still an enchanting vibe to it that we keep seeing throughout the movie. And then, of course, there's, like, the castle when she's by the well. Like, it's all just very beautiful to watch visually. And I think that is part of the charm of this movie, even though, like, yes, it's not this super flashy animation like Moana in the ocean, but it still holds up. Now, I'll get into the characters. I don't really feel like I need to talk about the dwarves that much. I think that they all have individual personalities, obviously, and I think that that was done very, very well. Um, and it was just, it was funny to watch. I do kind of wonder about Dopey a little bit. My mom and I were kind of talking about, like, is he supposed to be a baby? Because, like, the clothes are too big for him. He's the only one that doesn't have a beard. So we were kind of wondering, like, is he supposed to be younger and has no idea what's going on? And that's why he's kind of dopey, hence his name. We're not sure about that. So any theories about that are welcome to be talked about in the comments. But yeah, the dwarves are fun. They each have a different personality. They each kind of connect to Snow White a little bit differently when they first meet her. So that was just kind of fun to watch. Then there's the evil queen. Gosh golly gee, I forgot that this woman is pure evil. Like, I feel like she gets overlooked a little bit because, we have Maleficent, which was probably the most iconic Disney villain out of the classics. And then we have, the villains with all their songs and their plotting and depth, but hers is just so simple. She finds out that her stepdaughter is considered the prettiest in the land, and she's like, no, I'm gonna kill her. Girly did not play. And ironically, she ends up dying ugly. So that's probably the biggest downfall she could have possibly had given her circumstances. She also has access to like a whole evil laboratory, which isn't really explained, but she has clearly built this up to do evil deeds. Like, the girl was ready to go and make this disguise and come up with the poison to kill Snow White, which is just, she's just pure evil. And even though, she is one-dimensional, so she's probably not as engaging as a lot of our fan favorite villains, obviously. But I think given this circumstance, because Snow White is so good, like, that's her whole shtick. She's so good and so kind, so sweet. Like, how could you not like this girl? So the person who doesn't like her is just pure evil. So in that regard, I feel like it worked perfectly well. Now let's get on to Snow White herself. First of all, her voice is freakishly high. Like, Ariana Grande who? All things considered, like I said, when I first watched this movie, I was just kind of like, oh, she's like girly and nice and sweet and a little bit naive. Actually, a lot naive, which is fine. Keep in mind, she's like 14, right? 14-year-olds make dumb decisions. So people getting on her about that, like, I get it. Yes, she probably was old enough to know better, to not just eat things that people bring you randomly. But it's also like, have you not made a dumb or naive decision at age 14? I know that I did. I know that I still do sometimes, and that was 7 years ago, so whatever. Yes, she is naive, and that is her biggest flaw, because that's what ends up basically killing her. And even the dwarves warned her, like, do not talk to strangers. The queen is after you. You should know this. Do not let any strangers in the house. So she made a stupid decision there. But, it's not, like, let's not victim blame the child. At the same time, Snow White herself is also a little bit one-dimensional. She's simple, but her whole thing is she's kind. She's nice. And, she's not unpleasant in any way. And she's just a lovely person. And when people find out, or when the dwarves and the animals find out she's in danger, they gravitate towards her and want to protect her, even though this puts them in danger too. So, I just found her likable, but not super engaging. However, I will say, after this rewatch, I have gained a little bit more appreciation for her. She's not as one-dimensional as I originally thought, because while she's kind and sweet always, she also takes no BS. I mean, when she first meets the dwarves, and I know she gets some criticism from people about, like, she busted into their house and that was rude, like, without permission. But honey, if I was lost in the woods And believe me, I would have been crashing around and screaming like that too, because even though nature is beautiful, I don't want to be stuck in it while trying to run from somebody who's trying to kill me. Like, I probably would have been falling in creeks and screaming too. So I'm not going to judge her too hard for that. And I also am really scared of spiders. So if I ran into any spiders, I would be deceased. But like, all things considered, if I was in that situation and I saw a little cottage that the animals led me to, I would be like, cool, I'm staying in here. If somebody comes and asks me why I'm here, I will apologize and say, I'm sorry, I was scared. And that's basically what happens. I mean, she cleans up the house because it is a little, you know, it's a little musty. And then she's like, oh, I kind of need to crash out. I'm going to go to bed. And then when she does encounter the dwarves, she doesn't just say, well, I'm staying here. She's like, please let me stay. In thanks, I am totally willing to cook and clean for you. And they're like, okay. Yeah, I think that's a fair trade. But when I say that she takes no BS, and she's made dinner and stuff, like, Snow White likes things tidy. I think that's fair. And also, their house was dirty as heck. So I would, even though I'm not clean and tidy like that either, I'd probably be like, oh, we gotta clean this place up if we're gonna live here, please. And of course, she asks them to wash. And I would too, because ain't nobody needing your grubby hands everywhere. And she doesn't say like, ugh, you guys are dirty, go wash up right now. But she's like, okay, it's almost time for dinner, why don't you guys wash up? Because keep in mind, these dwarves have been in the mines all day, digging around in who knows what to find their jewels. Great, that's their job. But if they haven't washed after that, ugh, like dirty. I don't need their little grubby hands in the food, in the yummy food that I'm about to serve them. So I totally understand why she was like, go wash, please. Ain't nobody want your dirty hands in the food that I have prepared for you.
What are you worried about the I'm doing? Because I want you to smell good, boo.
But throughout this whole thing, even though she does have a few moments where she's a bit of a sassy queen, I mean, the way she handles Grumpy, I could never. I would have been like, like snappy, snap, snap. But no, she handles it very gracefully and mature, but with a little bit of sass. So that kind of made me appreciate her just a little bit more. It shows that you can remain 100% kind, but still stand up for yourself and handle things with grace without stooping to somebody's level. So I have definitely gained appreciation for Snow White as a character herself. So to close off, like I said, I don't think my opinion has changed too much. However, my opinion of Snow White as a character has become more positive. Do I have some criticism of the actual plot of the film? Absolutely, but I have gained some major appreciation for the aesthetic of the film, Snow White herself, and let's be real, put some respect on the movie's name, because it was made almost 90 years ago, and considering that it still holds up very well, it deserves its flowers. The visuals, the sound design, there's a charm to this movie that is very, very beautiful and still works to this day. I've also kind of thought about, yes, while I have criticism about the plot, some things are portrayed in a way that probably wouldn't happen today because it was a different time. And I feel like, despite all of that, if the film was made today, no, not that. We're not going to talk about that. That's a completely different video. If the original animated film was being made and was coming out today, it would be missing a certain charm to it, just because of the simplicity that they had to work with at the time. And because of that, I just have to, put some respect on this name. Is it my favorite Disney movie? Absolutely not. But I do think I have gained some appreciation for it, even though it's not one that I'm probably going to be rewatching all the time. Let's put some respect on the OG classic Disney princess movie. So to close off this video, my question is, for this movie, did you ever feel differently about it as you've grown up? Did you see it as a kid? Did you think differently as you've grown up? Is there something you maybe didn't catch on to when you were a kid? Because I know I did. I forgot all about the whole silly song scene, which is kind of sad because that was a really cute moment. And yeah, like I missed a lot of the details, even though I remembered the basic plot? Or is there another Disney film where you felt like you watched as a kid and were like, eh, and then you watched it as an adult and you were like, wait a second, I kind of slept on this, or vice versa. I'm going to continue this series I'll do Cinderella next, then Sleeping Beauty, and if this series does well, I'll probably continue going through the Disney princess movies. And if there's any other Disney films, maybe Pixar, I'll do a Pixar series perhaps. Let me know if you want to hear my opinion about any of these. Thank you so much for watching, and all I ask is that if you choose to comment, please just be respectful. I'm happy to have a discussion, but if you guys are just gonna be mean, then I will block you, because ain't nobody got time for that. This is a channel for positivity, and we are discussing a very positive and sweet Disney princess movie here. So I'd love to hear your thoughts, and let me know what type of videos you'd like to see next. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!